The time has finally come, everyone. It is Tiger Moth time. Woo! Fanfare! Woo! Party! Yay! Anyone who doesn't get why this is such an exciting time, there's a bit of a reputation that I have for being obsessed with Tiger Moths, despite having never even featured a Tiger Moth on the channel. But hey, it is also kind of true that I am a bit obsessed with Tiger Moths and I do like them very much. But this is the first time that I have built a 1/48th scale aircraft, or will be the first time that I've built 1/48th scale aircraft in a very, very long time. First one on the channel. So obviously it has to be the Tiger Moth, and this is the one that I'm going for. The Airfix de Havilland Tiger Moth, product code A04104, seen resplendent here in flight. In beautiful red and silver colour. This one actually came from an auction from Moz 6510 Models. If you don't know Moz, then firstly, why not? Secondly, how do you know me and not Moz? And thirdly, go and check Moz out. And every now and again, there might even be an auction where you can pick up a kit like this. So I didn't pay the normal recommended retail price for it as such, except I kind of did. So either way, here we go. Look, we're going to look inside the box now. I have been racking my brains as to what to do to celebrate this being my 48th scale model and what colour to do it in and things like that. So I have another couple of parts that I have ordered, which I will also show you, and I'll tell you what we're doing. On the grey edge, we just have all of the warnings, as well as the little cartograph logo down there, referring to the decals, product code, official product, and a slightly, either that's out of focus or I've been drinking too much, slightly out of focus little tooling date there, 2019. This was the first release of this particular tooling, which is due for a second release imminently at time of recording. So I'm recording this at the very beginning of 2024 and it is due out. It was in last year's range, due out very, very soon. If it's not already, maybe it is out and I just haven't noticed. On this edge we have the two schemes included with the kit. We're ignoring those. A little history of the Tiger Moth. 1 flying hour, skill level 2, and it tells you what paints you are going to need. They're not included, however. And there's the short edge of the box if you see this in a shop, but to be honest, if you see the word Tiger Moth, you should just buy it anyway, haha! Right, I've opened it. Oh, it's so beautiful! So we have a large bag of parts, a rather large instruction sheet, and an equally as impressive large decal sheet. We're going to look at the decal sheet first, even though, as I've said, we're not going to do one of these options. Well, not yet. I might do another Tiger Moth, and I might choose one of these options. But we have very well printed, but very stress-inducing decals. The reason why I say that is because this covers the entirety of the wing and that covers the entirety of the tail. A lot of people don't like doing that sort of thing with decals. I would certainly be put off by doing that much, but nor would I want to paint it. At least on the top wing it doesn't cover the entire wing, but the tail it does, as then you'd have to get it perfect around the shape of the tail. But we've got different walkways. So the no step and then the walkway and here, they're different for each aircraft. The common decals are very, very minor, just look like some instrument panels. Beautifully printed, very, very impressive. I will be using some of them, of course, I'll be using the common ones. But there we go, let's go and keep those safe somewhere. On to the instructions then, and we have the usual history here, some specifications there, in multiple languages. This is quite a large book, actually. Also down here, for best results, parts should be clean. Yeah, well, I never do, and maybe therefore my results are not the best. Right, assembly instructions tells you how to do stuff. Icon instructions tells you what the instructions mean. These are colour instructions, standard Airfix formula. I'm not going to be going over every single part. We're just going to quickly gloss over, but it's kind of as you'd expect. You've got the interior. We've got a separate engine piece in there, looks rather nice. Part 8, you have the option to cut the doorways. I probably will. I haven't decided that much. I know roughly what I'm doing with it, but I don't know about that. You have more detail on the inside of the engine bay. They've modelled it. Oh, here it is, yeah. They've modelled it so that you can see the engine and you can open up a hatch an access panel if you want to display it with the engine on show, which I think is quite nice. Ah, yes, this is a template. So you stick that, you don't stick it, obviously, you place it over the rear tail fuselage so that you can fit the anti-spin equipment, which is there. Anti-spin strakes, essentially. Very, very cool. I like that. I'd rather they not make you have to cut a kit apart, but I do like that they give you a template to at least assist you with it. Wings, top and bottom, as you can see there. Oh, that's nice to see as well. They're telling you, for Scheme A, apply decal 17 before adding these parts. I very much like that they're doing that, so you don't just bulldoze in and then realise afterwards that you've probably ballsed up. And then final parts here. It's a Tiger Moth. It's not the most complicated plane in the world, okay? Simple. And it tells you how to rig. So you've kind of finished the plane there, but here, if you wanted to add rigging, spoilers I will be, it tells you where. I do also note on this kit, the same as the 72nd one, but the 72nd one I understand why. This one, I think it's Airfix being lazy. There is no fuel line from the fuel tank to the engine, meaning this aircraft, of course, would never be able to fly. Never mind. Interesting omission. You'd have thought that if they've done the struts and they're telling you about the rigging, they'd be able to do that. Either way, that's just the rest of the rigging, and then the colour call-out is at the back, with Scheme 1 being the one on the box, the silver and red, and Scheme 2 being entirely silver and equally as modern. So these are both preserved aircraft rather than being Second World War or pre-war or anything else. They are both modern aircraft. Now, let's look at the plastic. Considering this is a 1/48th aircraft, there's not actually that much to it, but then it is a fairly small aircraft, kind of why I chose it. We do have a separate bag for the clear parts, which is standard for Airfix, and the only clear parts are the windscreens. We will keep them in the bag for now, as I do not want them getting scratched. Let's have a look. This is how they came out of the box, so they may not be in order. However, we start with Frame A. Let's even got a little recyclable logo, so it tells you what the makeup of the plastic and how to recycle it. Very, very cool. We have two tails. We've got the one with the anti-spin strakes, and then we have the unstraked tail. So they've not made these bits flimsy or anything. They've fixed it with the tail so that you can't really mess that up, can you? We have fuselage looking very nice. There's the engine, which is okay. I mean, that's not phenomenal engine detail, but it's not bad. Not bad at all. Interior detail, again, fairly, I say basic. It's not as basic as it would be in 72nd, but it's quite a simple aircraft, so I wouldn't expect too much. You can at least see the controls and the ribbing, which is interesting. So yes, very, very nice. Then next we have Frame B, which is wings and two propellers. I'm guessing the two propellers are for different versions of the kit. I didn't notice in the instructions whether you use one for both or that's them planning future releases. Don't know, don't really care. I'll just follow the instructions at the time. But here are the wings. Again, got beautiful ribbed detail, because these are fabric wings. And some companies will give you this really rough texture, which is a bit too much. Whereas here you can see the spars, particularly picked up well in the light, but they're not too pronounced. So it looks rather nice. Rivet detail as well on the slats and things. Very, very nice. Also note the complete lack of flash. And then the third frame, so I'm guessing this is C. There it is. Frame C. Where we have pretty much everything else. So the interior. Oh, we've got a hood. Oh, and a third propeller blade. Excellent. We can have a 3-bladed Tiger Moth. 3-bladed? 6-bladed. 3-propped Tiger Moth. Here is the cover for cutting the hole in the fuselage. Here is the floor, and you've got instrument panels, which I noticed there were decals for, but they've moulded raised instruments on there. There's the seat. Wheels with a little de Havilland hub, although not all Tiger Moths had de Havilland hubs. Some of them had plain hubs, some of them had spokes. I don't think there are any others supplied with the kit. Oh yes, what would you like? Excellent. We've got the fuel tank down here, and again more engine detail. Looking very, very smart. I do note that this is notably better than the 72nd one, in that the 72nd one's fuselage struts to hold the wing up, are very susceptible to flash, and the injection feeds are in completely the wrong place, which is really not ideal. They're like right on here, kind of like the undercarriage legs are here. I would rather you not do that as a kit manufacturer. Sometimes you have no choice. I mean, where else are you going to put it on here? Realistically, it has to be. But when it's something like this, putting it at the top and the bottom, it just secures it much, much better. So overall, looking very, very nice indeed. And also rather simple, as I've said many times, for a 48 scale kit. So they are going back in the box, and we are looking at the rigging that I have bought. So I'm going to try and do this in a slightly more professional way. Often I just use guitar string and cut it and glue it. And it's fine for smaller kits, but this is something a little bit larger, so I don't really want to just use my normal, rather basic technique. And I've gone for the AK bobbin and 20 metres of high elastic stretch rigging, super thin. So it recommends it for 1/48 scale, amongst others. But it is basically just a very thin elastic wire, which can be used to replicate the rigging on this aircraft. Provided I do a good job of it, this will also cover any other similar sort of aircraft that I've got. Probably a bit too big for 72nd, hence why they're recommending it for these scales. But realistically, even if it's thinner than guitar string, I can probably get away with using this on 72nd scale aircraft as well. But we'll see how well this goes. It will be my first time using this product. And then crucially, the colour. Well, it will be one of these. This is the Extra Decal de Havilland Tiger Moth Part 3 Overseas Operators set, with a very large decal sheet for multiple options. The actual decals themselves I'm going to leave in the bag so that they don't have any risk of getting damaged. I've used Extra Decal stuff before. They are made by Microscale, who are very good. They're maybe not as popular as Cartograph in terms of quality. I've never had a problem with anything from Extra Decal. They always seem to stay together. They're not too thick, they're not too thin. The colour is always bright and vivid. They're absolutely fine, as I'm sure you'll see when we come to put them on. With the set, you have basic information here talking about just basically how to put them on. Gloss the aircraft beforehand, microset, microsole, that sort of thing. So that is just instructions for how best to use them. This is a little advert for the extra acrylic range from Hannants. So if anyone who doesn't know, Hannants are the owners of Extra Decal, as in it's their Extra Decal is their brand, hence why it says Hannants there. Extra Acrylic being their acrylic paint range, and Extra Kit being their kit range. They don't make their own kits, they essentially commission other people, so they've commissioned these decals basically. But there we go, that is them advertising their stuff. I would show you what their paints look like, but I don't have any, not anymore. Here we have the different options, and I would like to point out, let me get my pointing stick, because they are modelers. I mean, obviously they're modelers, they're Hannants, but because they understand what models like, it tells you this aircraft had anti-spin strakes fitted. There's nothing here, therefore that one didn't. That one didn't. You still need to use the stencil detail if there is any from the kits. Extra Decal do not supply anything further. But we have an option for a French aircraft, which I like on the grounds that it's clearly standard RAF, green, brown over yellow. However, it's got primer green over the top and like a dark, where was the other one? Like a black green over here, where they have painted over the original RAF markings and then replaced it. So I quite like that one. Not sure if I'm going to do that one yet. I should have mentioned that. I'm doing one of these. I haven't decided which one, so still open to suggestions if you have any. we have the very vividly coloured Swedish one here, which is red and yellow. Probably the hardest to paint because that's not a straight line, that's curved. Bit of a ball ache, but definitely an eye-catching one. So far, I think the top contender is this Portuguese one. As the colour options on this go, it's one of the least interesting, but also one of the most attractive because it's this beautiful dark blue all over with the Portuguese flag on a yellow tail with yellow wings. So kind of a standard training colour, but also really, really smart. Very, very nice. So very, very tempting. Brazilian one, which is silver. Probably won't do that one because it's all over silver. If I did an all over silver one, it'll be the one on the back, as we'll see shortly. A Dutch one, as you can see here, the Dutch Marine, all over yellow. Again, it's quite boring, so that's not a contender at the moment. These three are all contenders, although they will all require some sort of work because they don't have the de Havilland branded wheels. Extra Decal have taken the time to show you on the wheels that have the de Havilland branded hubs. So Dutch does not, the Brazilian does, and none of these do. This one has the open one, which therefore would actually require separate wheels. I can probably get away with just ignoring that, but we'll see. If I were to do a silver one, it would be this one, which also has the hood. However, this does also have a tail wheel and the spoked wheels, and neither of those are supplied with the kit from what I can see, so I may have to source those from somewhere else or wait a little bit of time. I know it's quite a boring colour, but I really do like Belgian aircraft. Something about the Belgian roundel just looks fantastic. So that is also an option, but it may be an option for another Tiger Moth. And here is the American one, which, much like the French one, is standard RAF colours with primer green over the things that make it British. And then they supply all down here the tops and bottoms, so you can again see that the French and the American ones both have lighter green and brown underneath, which is standard RAF practice, and the Brazilian one has a yellow stripe, but that still doesn't really make it very interesting. And then down here it recommends extra colour, which is their enamel range, and extra acrylic paints, which is their acrylic range. Clearly their extra acrylic range is not as significant as their extra colour range because, well, what if I wanted to paint it blue? Huh? Doesn't even have that as an option. But either way, that is what you get. And so that is what we will be doing. So there we go. I'm obviously excited about this one. I've wanted a larger scale Tiger Moth for a very long time, and I'm now at a point where I think I'm going to be able to do it just better than I otherwise would have done. That's kind of why I've been put off 48th. Put a comment down below if you have a preference for which one of that extra decal set you think I should do. I will possibly hold a poll as well. This is likely to be started before the poll closes. However, I guarantee this time, because often I do this, I ask for an opinion and then I suddenly get inspired by something and I just go with it and ignore it. But this time I genuinely will take into consideration for the first couple of weeks or so after this video goes live as to which one to do. There will be pros and cons to all of them. Like I said, I'm going to potentially either have to use incorrect wheels or hubs or something. But either way, if you have a particular fondness for a particular colour or there's a particular reason, particularly if there's a personal story behind any colour, then please let me know in the comments. I love reading about that sort of thing and it will help guide my decision in the end. One reason why I'm perfectly happy to compromise on my preference for this, like if everyone wants the Brazilian one, fine, I'll make the Brazilian one. It'll look more boring than I was expecting, but I will do that. But one of the reasons why I am okay to do that is because I actually have another one. So it's likely that I'm going to end up making at least 2 from this set, and realistically, being me, I could end up with just an entire shelf full of 48th Tiger Moths. So yes, there we go. Once again, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe if you don't already. Oh, I've just noticed the colour of these is different. You see that? No? Okay, never mind. You can become a channel member if you'd like to become a channel member, like the people on screen here who help just to keep things like my obsession with Tiger Moths alive, and mostly just buy me new paints, to be honest, and it is very much appreciated. These guys are wonderful. And finally, if you're new here and you haven't watched one of my videos before, maybe you'd be interested in the one that YouTube is recommending you. Either way, worth a shot, right? Grab yourself a cup of tea, coffee, beer, gin, drink of choice, and hopefully it's a Tiger Moth video, and you get to watch all about Tiger Moths. Anyway, thank you very much. Until next time, goodbye. I've just punched the camera again.